So now let's look at a policy which has a modify effect. Now what we are saying in this policy is that if the public network access property of any container registry is enabled, then go ahead and modify it based on the operation which is defined in the policy, right? So the operation is either add or replace, and what we are doing is we are updating the public network access property to be disabled for a container registry. How the roles and the identities are working for modify effect is similar to how they work for deploy if not exist effect, and this was explained in the log analytics workspace policy. So go ahead and watch that video as well. uh, so now for the demo, before we start with the demo, I'll show you that I already have a container registry which exists with the public access enabled, right? So it's not disabled. Now I'll go ahead and create our policy definition as well as policy assignment in Azure, right? So if you have imported the collection, you will have a folder structure something like this. To execute, you just click on a folder. You will be presented in the runner uh, blade, and then we just go ahead and run all of these five, right? So these two will delete if something is existing already, and then it will create a definition, create an assignment, and then assign a role to uh, the manager entity created by the assignment. So all of this is now created. So what should now happen is that the policy to should take effect in some time, and then update public access property on our registry to the disabled, right? But it does take some time, so I'll pause the video and then come back to that again. Now one thing to note over here is when we create a policy assignment, it starts as a not started state, right? So compliance state is not started and takes about 10 to 15 minutes before it takes effect. So we'll come back to this one in some time. So this policy has taken effect and it has identified one resource which is not compliant. Okay, so let's look at those details. And this, anyway, we know, right? This is that one container registry we had created with public access, right? So this ACR was there already. This particular container registry is non-compliant, and it tells you what is the reason, right? Yep. So it says current value must not be equal to the target value, right? So yeah. So this is due to the negation. Enabled is the current value, target value enabled, they should not be equal. So what this means is they should be disabled effectively. So now we will go ahead and use this policy to remediate this resource. So let's go there. For this, we'll go to the remediation. And you see that public access on ACR has one resource which can be remediated. So we can go ahead and create a remediation. Right, and we will just say remediate. That's it, right? So what we want to do is this particular resource we want to remediate. Now what will happen is uh, this will now go ahead and carry out that operation which was defined in the policy definition. Yeah, so this task is in progress. When this is done, this will take some time to execute. When this is done, we'll come back. Okay, so this task has now completed, and we can go ahead and look at our container registry, right? So let's and we see that this is now disabled, right? The public access is now disabled. Now we can test out a new resource creation as well. So let's go and create a new registry. So we can do that very quickly. So I'm saying public network access enabled is true. You can test this only with the premium SKU. Let's go. Now this policy, this ACR is created, but now on the screen itself, you can see straight away that this request was modified in flight, right? So public network access is disabled, right? Even though we said we want it enabled, uh, finally the request was modified and sent across to Azure, right? So this is the actual request which has gone to Azure for creation. So public network access is disabled. We can look at the ACR itself, right? So this is our ACR, second ACR, and we look at the networking, and we see that this is disabled, even though we said specified it to be enabled. Finally, when the ACR was created, it was created as public access disabled.